Hi,
Good
everybody.
evening. Welcome to Delight in Fright. I am Kat, and to my side is the lovely Luna. And below us, we have a very special guest. We have Maurice Jovan Billington from A Cat Named Mo show on 102.5 The Bone. And he has
Woo!
done so many amazing things.
I
He
really
is
have.
yeah, you have. Don't start. We have director, producer, writer of WDED Dead in the Making, which is what we'll be reviewing today. And he is also the co-writer and producer of I Possessed movie. I got my poster
I
here
see that. Where did you get
with
that poster from?
my signatures. I think it was one of the Spooky Empire or something like that.
Oh, you
Anytime I'm
met
going
Carl.
around, yes, I did. He's awesome. Anytime I'm
Yes.
going around seeing independent films, I'm like, yes, tell me, show me your movie. I want to see it because we
Okay.
are all about the independent films here.
So you didn't even know I had something to do with that before you saw the poster then. And
No,
in
I did not.
conversation it came up. Very
Yes,
cool.
sir. Yes, sir. And also, Mo has written two books 2013, A
Ooh.
Potion of the Eternal,
Or portion.
2018. Huh? Potion. My bad.
Portion.
Oh,
Portion.
it is portion?
Yeah, a portion. Yeah, like a
Oh, my
portion of.
bad.
Yeah, a
My
potion.
bad.
Not like a witch's.
Ooh.
Oops.
We know where your mind's at, Kat.
I see that. No, a
Yes,
portion of
yes.
the eternal.
Portion of the Eternal. And
Yes.
2018's This Plane is Going to Crash, a collection of poems.
Yeah, you
And
better
he's
believe it.
also the editor of Sim Johnson's Seasons of Change, writer,
Hold
director,
on,
the
slow down.
protagonist.
Hold on. So
Yes,
how did you know about Seasons of Change? I was a ghostwriter on that project.
Amazon, sir.
Damn.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
typed your name into Amazon and it came up with 3 books. I'm like, wait, where's the third
Oh,
one? Where the hell did it
oh.
come from?
I I don't necessarily claim a season of change. It's not a story I would have written,
Uh,
but I think I did a good job for the person that wanted to be a writer but couldn't write.
yeah, it just had you as editor.
Okay.
That's all. It just had you as
Okay.
editor.
Well, then
Yeah.
cut out all of that ghostwriting. I didn't write it.
Yep. Nope. You wrote and directed The Protagonist, a short film in 2017,
Or the
based on
purgatorist.
the Purgatorist, based on our.
You're killing me.
I know. I'm sorry,
Now,
Purgatorist.
hold on now. I will say this in your defense. Nobody gets that title right. It's not even a word. I made it up. But you're good. You're good.
Based on your own graphic comic. I couldn't find the comic.
The
Is it the
comic,
same title?
it's the comic. I had a couple of friends, Martin and I'm gonna be remiss. And Martin was he was the graphic designer, and then he was also had someone that was an illustrator, and they did a series of comics. And I was approached by them. They said, "Hey, would you like to write a short story?" And I said, for to appear in one of the comics, a short graphics novel story. And I said, sure. And I came up with the Purgators. So there was no comic that was called the Purgators, but within a comic collection series was the short story, the Purgators. Stay right there. I want to show you something, okay?
Yay. Show and tell.
We love show and tell on this channel.
Yes.
He is our second guest to show us something remarkable.
This
Ooh.
is actually one of the actual matte drawings for the graphic novel right here that they
That's
signed
beautiful.
and gave to me right there. It's a beautiful piece. I don't know if it's being done justice, but I hang it up on the wall. So I have 3 of the remaining comics from that series left. Yes.
It is
Ooh.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Were you able to see any little bit of the Purgatorist?
No, I wasn't able to. We were too busy dying watching WDED Dead in the Making. I mean, for 99 cents on Vimeo. That is the best 99 cents I've ever spent. How about you, Luna?
Yes,
What?
yes.
Is that all I'm charging? 99 cents?
Yeah, to rent it.
Outrageous.
I know. It's
I'm getting ripped off.
$3.99 to buy it.
And $3.99 to buy it. So if you like it so much,
I
just
need to,
own it.
yeah, that's true. That is true.
And I believe Luna has a preview for us. You want to show the preview, Luna, before we get into it?
Yes. Let me go ahead and do this. 1 second. There we go.
All right. Wait, listen. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1.
All right.
You count the 1, then go, okay?
All right.
Oh my God. I didn't even know you were there.
I can't believe we're shooting a film about not being able to release the film that we already shot.
He want to know why you smoking.
And action. I said, dude, this is never going to fly, man. This ain't going to happen. And he told me, and I quote, this is Hollywood, baby.
Exactly.
I wanted to push it further.
Being that I gotta call my only few black coworkers the N-word in the movie while playing myself behind my show logo and my bus logo, that wasn't fine. Ever.
Brothers is always on trial.
That was the day that I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a little worried.
Dudes, buddy.
I thought, gee, what did I get myself into here?
Struggle's real. Real dumb.
Would I watch this film with my mother and be comfortable? Well, my mom's probably a little more outside the box. She's open to things like that.
Do I think that my character represents a strong woman in the film? Absolutely.
I thought you were a lesbian.
I am.
Then why'd you kiss me?
Because you're acting like a girl.
I was racist when I came in. I drove up and like, that dude's racist. Man, you in radio. You know you ain't got no health care.
Hey, white boy, give me a drink. That's why this film got canceled.
How you doing?
Okay, so how the infection spread? They got bit.
All right, here we go. Test 2. How long did it take you to make this movie?
2 days.
2 days? 2 days. Like, why I'm not in it?
Because that would have cost us a third day.
Bye. We out. 1.
Worst interview ever. I hope the movie is
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Aw.
So what did you think, Luna?
It kind of made me sad in a way, even though there's a lot of funny moments and everything. It made me sad in a way because it did look like you had a lot of fun and everybody had a lot of fun. And the fact that you weren't able to put it out into the world, it was kind of an art that couldn't be displayed. But then you rewrote that and made this to kind of say, no, fuck you. I'm still doing something with this. But it was kind of that sentiment of putting out art and not being able to display it kind of got me.
That's a very good point, and I could see how you and or someone could feel like that. And I mean, you're right. We everybody put a lot of work into the film. I mean, we had to shoot it over the course of weekends because we couldn't. Everybody was kind of like working, not gratis, but for a lot less than a nicely budgeted film would have been able to afford. So everybody had to do their day jobs, had to do their week jobs, including myself. I didn't even take any pay for it. So it was over the course of 2 years, 2 years worth of Saturdays that we shot that thing and did production and things as well. So when we completed it and got accepted to the Gasparilla Film Festival, that was like kind of, what's the word I'm searching for? It was kind of validation of all the hard work we put in. And well, then COVID, and then the world started turning, and then it was like, we can't release this film with the state of the world now, and not keep my day job. I mean, we may have. I mean, I did do a workaround where I released it as a documentary, and I basically what I thought that because I was, you talk about being sad, I was probably despondent for the better part of a year and a half because of all of this work. And I'm like, I cannot do anything with this. And I was sitting on my back patio one day and having a bourbon. And I said, why don't I make a documentary of it? And that way I can show all of the scenes that I wanted to show, all of the scenes that other studios and platforms might find problematic if it were the actual movie, but won't because you're making a point about it because it's a documentary. So there's that little wink in there. I mean, when you watch Dead in the Making, I've pretty much given you 80% of what we shot in sequential order. So you're actually really kind of seeing the film minus the extraneous shots, the expository shots, the setups, and so forth and so on. It's actually a good representation of the film, and I thought that was kind of genius. But
yes, I completely agree. Absolutely genius. And I love at the end of the film how you do your little wink to it.
yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
that's just great because yes, you're still making a freaking film.
Yes, absolutely.
Documentary, it's a film. So
yes, absolutely.
I mean, great resiliency and ability to pivot.
Yes,
just you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna make something out of it.
Yes, and I appreciate that. And the truth be told, we probably needed to go back and do some reshoots, but I got access to a radio. I had written that script years and years and years ago when I was doing mornings in Columbus, Ohio, and I had planned on using the radio station there. And I had access, your mornings, you have access to the city basically. But it just never came to fruition. And then years later, I'm at the Bone and I'm just like looking around and I'm like, you know what? We could do this. We could do this here. Let's just do it. I didn't really have a plan. I had the script that I had to kind of rewrite because it was a different, scenario with the station now. We just shot it. I got assembled the people and we got shot it. One of the earliest memories I have of a film quote that I had retained onto is from Francis Ford Coppola. I think I was in high school and he was going through all of this trouble with Zoetrope Studios, his own, and trying to make one from the heart of film. And so there was a lot of articles and interviews with him, and someone was asking him about filmmaking, and he said, just shoot it. The money will come. But his point was, don't wait, just point the camera and shoot, and then everything else will come behind it. That's not always the case, but it was the case here. And now once we wrapped and then we assembled everything, I would have liked to have gone back and done a couple of other things. But once the studio opened back up after COVID was gone, no strangers were, the landscape had changed. The landscape had changed, had COVID happened, I would have never been allowed to shoot there in the first place. So I did get fortunate in that respect.
Interesting. That's an interesting take on all of it. So originally, when you were supposed to make, what you intended to, what kind of inspired you to do that movie?
I have a friend who actually came up with the idea. He was like, "Hey man, you should write a movie about zombies taking over a radio station." So that was I was like, I guess I could. I have a lot when you write and when you're known as a writer in amongst your circle of friends, what you get is a lot of people saying, "Hey, you should write this," uh, lacking the understanding that um, as difficult as writing is, sometimes the only reason that someone is able to write is because a story is within them that they feel so compelled to tell that they will actually sit down and take the time to tell it. The book, A Portion of the Eternal, that was that was 2 years. That took me 2 years to write. I think I took maybe 3 months off in between that 2 years, but it was a matter of I was able to start. I had gotten let go, and I was getting unemployment from my radio gig because we got let go from the radio station, and I was at the highest level of unemployment because I was making a lot of money. I was getting nowhere near what I was making, but I I was able to max out the amount. And this was during this is when Obama was president, and I don't. You guys may be too young, or you may not just remember, but there was a point where like unemployment was supposed to be like for 3 to 4 months, and then they extended it
Yeah.
because of the and then they extended it. So I had maybe almost a year and a half of unemployment, and I said, not knowing that it was going to be that long, but at the outset of it, I said, let me sit down, let me write this book. Let me use my severance and let me use my unemployment because that's the only time that I'm going to have time to do this book. And
Mhm.
so I did. That was my job. I'd get up I'd get up at some point around 9 o'clock. I'd have a cup of coffee. I'd sit in front of the computer and I'd write. Pretty much wrapping up at 4. I would do other things. I had a child, so I'm working from home, so I'm up here and there. But pretty much from 9 to 4, I just concentrated on the book. Went back to work at the radio station just as unemployment was ending, and then I would do the morning show, and then I would go home and I would uh, you know take a nap and whatever, and then I would get up, and then I would say before I go out and hang with my friends and drink whatever, I'm gonna write. you know some people set out to write a certain amount of pages, and this is the same thing with a screenplay, so it correlates with the film. And then some people just write until they can't write anymore, and some people write until they realize that this is not the right time to write. And like there would be times that I would sit down and I would get 5 pages. There would be times that I would sit down and I would get a sentence, like 3 4 hours, and you're getting a sentence. You like and you that sentence or that group of sentences, that paragraph, is just enough to where when you come back the next time, you're going to get that 5 pages. And sometimes you get that 5 pages and then you come back and you kind of reread what you wrote the day before, and you like, and you get rid of it all, but it's still moving you forward. Um,
And speaking
so,
of your book, what beautiful prose.
oh, thank you.
I thought I just, I downloaded the little bit of freebie from Amazon and then
Mhm.
I was hooked. So it's on its way and you need to sign it for me, sir,
Oh,
because
oh,
it is
you know,
freaking
I'll do that.
beautiful.
I would have given
And
you a copy.
no, no, no. I love to support people who do the best they can and everything they can, and that's definitely you. But are you able to write so beautifully from a woman's perspective? Were there strong women in your life, in your
uh,
family?
I'm going to answer that. I don't want to leave a point hanging.
No problem.
So what I was saying, so that's how difficult it is to write. So a lot of people will say, "Hey, I've got this story idea," not realizing that it's difficult to write a story you come up with. It's incredibly, almost, monumentally difficult and impossible to write a story that someone else is giving you. I've been given a lot of story ideas, and I'm like, that's just not me. That's just not me. That Seasons of Change book that I ghost wrote, no, that I edited and not ghost wrote. Her story was ridiculous, just ridiculous. But I I powered through. But anyway, so when he gave me the idea for the zombies and the radio station idea, it was, even though it wasn't mine, it was within my wheelhouse because I love zombie movies, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big horror movie fan. Outside of, I say horror supernatural thrillers. There's subgenres of horror that I have zero, like
Mm-hmm.
slasher movies. I have no. It's not that I don't have any interest in. It's not like I didn't see,
They're just not
some
for
of the
you.
Friday 13th. Now, depends on how they're done. I don't know if it would quantify, and maybe you girls can tell me, as a slasher film. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's brilliant. Now, is that a slasher film?
I personally
I don't
think
think so.
so.
So we got one. Luna, you do. Cat, you don't. Why do you think I almost
There's
kind of
not
agree
really
with
that
Luna.
much blood in it. It's all left up to your mind. It's more in your head. What you can imagine is going on is always more horrible than what you can see going on.
But that's about wouldn't that be about the direction, not necessarily the genre? I think, and I understand where you're going, Cat. I think it was a slasher film before the term slasher film existed, and but because if you really look about it, it's about a guy, slashing people, to a degree.
Yeah.
But I did like that one, and there have been other ones, like The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like
I don't
those.
consider The Hills Have Eyes a
It's a
slasher
slasher
movie
movie.
either.
What are
It
you talking?
is, but I think of it more of like its own kind of thing, like freaked out families hidden in the
Yeah,
boonies. Like
the
I think
remote
its
woods
own.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. But so anyway, I did say said to my friend, sure, I'll write it, and it was such a goofy premise, that it was easy to write. It was not a script I was going to spend a lot of time on, but I ended up, with rewrites and whatever, spending a fair amount of time on WDED, Dead in the Morning. But that's to answer your question, Luna. To answer your question, Kat, about writing from the perspective of because the portion of the eternal is told, uh, I'm from, what is it? It's omniscient. Omniscient. What's the POV of that? First person omniscient. I believe is the correct phrasing of that. Which is to say, every every character every character's dialogue kind of comes through her. Is filtered through her. The narration that you hear in your head as you're reading it all comes from her. And I chose that specifically. I chose that manner specifically because she's a poet, and I wanted there to be a certain poeticism to all of the prose within the book. So I wanted her to relate what the characters were saying and how she processed it, and what I mean. Obviously, the characters are speaking themselves, but you're kind of getting it filtered through her memory, so it works a little bit better. It wasn't as I don't know what to say. It wasn't difficult to write as a oh, how old was I then? As a late 30s, early 40 something black guy to write from the perspective of a 16, 17-year-old white girl. It should have been more difficult. We may have to do a deep dive, deep psychological dive on why it wasn't all that difficult for me. I would say, yeah, yes, I grew up with a very, very strong mom, female presence. I don't think that's what it. I don't think that's what it is or what it was. I think that I grew up writing poetry. When my friends were playing, I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. When my friends would be out playing football or this or that activities, I'd be sitting on the porch steps, with a little pad and a pen, and I'd be writing poetry. Um, I think I think that uh, the ability to take words and rearrange them, so that you can evoke a certain emotional response. I think that's the softer side of humankind, or however you want to phrase it. And so it's probably more aligned with the female, because that, that's the softer side, I think. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's because I was a poet. I was tapped in to that, or maybe deep down inside I'm a 16-year-old white girl, you know, just trying to make it.
Maybe you were in a past life, right? And
Sure.
I love that you're a poet. My father was a poet at heart and a drummer. He did what he had
Oh,
to
a
do to
drummer. Look
pay
at
the bills.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
he
very
did what he
nice.
had to do to pay the bills, but at his core, he was a poet and a drummer. So
Good for him. Good for him. Yeah. He's no longer with us.
no,
Oh,
no,
okay. Well,
no.
hopefully you
But
have just great
yeah,
memories.
I have some of his poetry on my arm.
Oh, look at that. Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's with me
Oh,
always, and
oh.
Good.
I just I I love the poetry that you write. It's just so beautiful and
Thank
moving,
you.
and
Thank
it's as if it comes from somewhere else. You know
you.
what I mean? It's not it's so eloquently written, and I'm like, very rarely do I read something I'm like, fuck, I wish I wrote that. Fuck,
Wait.
damn it, I
It's so
suck.
it's so funny you say that. I'm gonna tell you, uh, a lot of that I wrote. A lot of it I wrote stream of conscious, which is I sat down and then I would just go, and I would go, and I would just write, and I would just okay. And she would talk, and she would talk, and I wouldn't I wouldn't stop down and say, okay, does this make sense? I wouldn't stop down and I wouldn't say, okay, I want her to say this, and then I want her to say that. A lot of times I just sat down, and as I was writing the story, I knew what the story was. I didn't know the ending. The end, it ends originally, it ends differently than it was going to end in my head. But I just let the writing kind of, you know, just happen. And I never went back. I would go back later the next writing session a little bit, but I just write, and then I get up and I
Nice.
walk away. And one, I was letting a friend read portions of it as I was writing it, not the entire thing, but a portion here or there, portion here or there. And at one point, and she had shared writings and stuff with me. At one point, she sent me this passage, and of writing, and I read it, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is great! I wish I had written that." And I asked her, I said, "Where did you get this from? Who wrote this?" She goes, "That's from your book." I honestly,
Nice.
I honestly, it had
You were so
no
in the
rec.
zone.
I had no rec. I mean, it's a 400 page, but so I had written a lot. I wasn't done at that
Yeah.
point. But you're writing, and then you're thinking about what you're going to write, so you can't remember every passage. And it just so happened that it wasn't name specific. There were no name. It was just a passage of words, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty damn good." So that's funny.
And
That
then what happened when you were told that it was yours? Were you like, "Oh shit."
Oh yes, I was like, well, I was like, oh, I was like, really, and I was like, oh yeah, I did right.
like time to celebrate.
uh,
Let me
but
pour myself a drink. Ha ha.
but what it did was it confirmed for me that writing I was writing what I wanted to write. Um, like when I do films, I shoot movies that I would want to see. I kind of like I I wrote that book has very very short chapters. I wrote how I like to read a book.
Hmm.
I hate long chapters. I hate long passages of text. Um, I hate having to stop in the middle of a chapter. So one of the first things that I said was, I'm purposely going to make the chapter short. It's a lot of chapters, like 90 chapters, and each one is titled like a poem. Um, with the and I so I some chapters are 2.5 pages, some may be five. I think there's a chapter that might be 1 page or just a paragraph. But I wanted you to be able to, as you're reading it, stop at any point and say, okay, I'll pick it up later. But I wanted you, if you were going to stop, I wanted you to stop on a significant event. And so I wanted to compact them. I didn't want you to stop in the middle of something going, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen, the very next second. It's different happening, having to stop when you have to, when you know that how something's going to end, but you still want to hear or read the follow up. But to
Mhm.
stop in the middle of an action or the middle of something that's not necessarily resolved, but at a point where you can put it down, I didn't want that to happen. So I wrote the book like I like to read books as well, and like shoot movies the way I like to see them. Like the thing with WDD and why it was kind of problematic after the society had kind of shifted tonally with humor and certain other things, and we were kind of uber sensitive about everything. One of my biggest pet peeves about comedies um, is that they they don't go comedy. This is a comedy horror or like a comedy action or whatever. It always, the comedy wanes towards the last act because now they're concentrating on resolving and wrapping up. And the if it's a comedy action film, the action takes precedent. If it's a comedy horror film, um, the horror takes precedent. I think for me, I want to see that comedy line through, throughout the
Mhm.
entire work. And I don't think that would dilute the horror or dilute the action. It's just like, don't go, "Oh, okay, we made you laugh in the beginning. All right, forget all of that. Let's do all of this." And the other thing was, because I don't like comedies, I'm not a huge comedy fan. It's like one of my least favorite genres of film. I said to myself, if we're gonna do this, it's gonna be a comedy horror. I'm going balls to the wall. I'm going.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
going. I'm The comedy is going to be as offensive uh, and brutal and insulting as it.
Yes.
Not juvenile. Well, there's some of it juvenile, but I wanted to go all the way. And not hold anything back. There was no room for subtleties necessarily in this script, and then we became all about canceling anything that was mildly offensive, and here I am writing something that I wanted to be overtly offensive. So
Do
that
you
kind of
think we're still in a cancel culture?
sure, you to a good degree, yes, I do. I think, and it is in some ways something like, I think you could do an independent film, and you could do something that's just outrageous, and you could release it on your own. But I mean, to get a studio behind it, to release, even if you've shot it and everything, all you need is the studio to back it by releasing it, to give you a platform. All you need is Amazon to give you a platform, Netflix to give you a platform. I
Mm.
don't know that community or that that artistic freedom is supported by those with certain platforms as much as it was before, or if it even is still. I mean, I think, rightfully so. Some people may say, well, you've got this joke here where we don't like that, and you don't have, yeah, it's weird because I mean, you look at the Oscars and the nominating process, and there has to be a certain amount of ethnicity from here or there, and a certain amount of representation of genders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not every story is going to have more than one gender, or
Mhm.
or or, or multiple genders, or multiple ethnicities, or multiple point of views. Not everybody um, that's trying to make a film is going to be, especially if you're trying to make an independent film. I, it's hard enough finding people that'll work for free or work for, below scale. Now I have to find somebody that's Indian that's going to work below scale and whatever, when I've got this perfectly fine person here, but now my crew doesn't look as diverse as is required for it to be considered for an award or even screening. You can't, I think we're in a bad place when society dictates art as opposed to art being able to reflect society, and that there's an imbalance there that's just not good for anyone.
So I do have a question about that in your film, Dead in the Making, about life imitating art or whatnot. In the film, she says maybe people won't believe it's real because we keep making fun of it. We could be putting our viewers in danger. Was that pre-COVID or after COVID?
That would have been pre-COVID. I did. The film was done. The film was written and done
That's what I
pre-COVID.
thought.
Before COVID, had ever
So
existed.
it was ahead of its time then.
See,
Excuse my scratchy voice, but I think I had just one cock too many. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's all right.
can't leave the cocks hanging, right, Luna?
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
As you were reading that, I was like, did I write that? I would have forgot.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, yeah, that's right.
I was like, what?
Yeah. The
Do you have
female
some
character.
sort of time travel powers in your beautiful dreads?
No,
Like in Donnie Darko, they're wormholes? No.
I wish. No, it's just something I could see. I guess something that might have been at the precipice of happening, or the beginnings of. So yeah. So.
And so are you scared of Tom Cruise? I was wondering.
Oh no!
I get it. I think he's a fucking robot. He's a fucking robot. Yes.
No, wait a
or
minute.
like one of those creatures from V. Like he's gonna rip his face off and be like,
wait a minute. It's easy. It's easy to watch that scene and think, oh, he hates Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. Okay, first and foremost, he's in one of my all-time. Ridley Scott's my favorite film director, and he's in one of my all-time. He's in what I consider the greatest fantasy film ever made, Legend, with the greatest representation of the devil. Tim Curry is darkness.
Yes.
He
was a child then.
Yeah, I know.
Now I don't know what he is.
I know. Well, he's smart. He's out of all. Think about all the actors that came up with him. Many of them in the same films. I mean, if you look at The Outsiders is a who's who of young up and coming stars. He's the only one that managed to, and he wasn't even one of the biggest stars in that film. He was kind of like a secondary character. That's not to say I love everything that he's done. I mean,
I mean, I love Legends of the Fall. I mean, I love.
No, he wasn't.
Not Legends of the Fall. Why am I getting it mixed up?
Legend. It was just Legend. Legends of the Fall is Brad Pitt. Yeah.
No, the one with Nicole Kidman, the first one he did with her. I don't know why.
Oh my God, that's stinker. Oh no, Far and Away.
Yes, I hated the ending. I hated the ending, but I did like the movie and Interview with the Vampire.
That one sucked too. No, wait a minute. You hate Tom Cruise and you like two of his worst films. That is hilarious to me. My problem with, I wasn't a huge fan of. There wasn't enough horror in Interview with a Vampire for me. And the other thing was this was
the book was better, but it always is.
That's what everybody says. Yeah. I remember walking away and people were asking me what I think. And I was like, this is Interview with a Vampire to me. Oh, it sucks being a vampire. Oh, I'm in New Orleans. It sucks being a vampire. Oh, I'm in Spain. It sucks being a vampire. Oh, I'm in France. It sucks.
But Kirsten Dunst killed it, man.
She
killed it.
But that's the other issue. That's the other issue with Interview with a Vampire for me. Every character in there was more interesting than Lestat. Because as Tom Cruise, to me, didn't have the gravitas to pull off the role. You look at Antonio Banderas. He comes on screen like, who the fuck is this? Okay, that's how
Yes,
now that's a
yes,
cool vampire.
yes.
And
I
he
was like,
even
oh.
yeah, and then you cast Tom Cruise was handsome, but you got Brad Pitt up against him,
Mhm.
and then you've got the wide-eyed ferociousness of Kirsten Dunst. It's just like for me, everybody around what was supposed to be the main character was better than the main
Mhm.
character. Now, I never read the book series, so I don't know if that's how it was, but that was my issue with Interview with a Vampire. The other issue was that it came out around the same time as The Hunger with David Bowie, which is far and away one of the greatest vampire
Hell
movies
yeah. Hell
ever
yeah.
made. And what might be the best vampire movie ever made, Near Dark, directed by
Yes.
Catherine Bigelow, which is
Yes.
so poetic. So, oh my God, so it kind of paled for me in that respect. But
Yes.
to each his own, to each his own. But
Okay,
far and
so
away,
so
that movie
then what do you
blows.
got against Star Wars then? Show me on the Chewbacca where you got hurt by Star Wars.
See,
Why you hate
listen,
him?
I don't hate Star Wars. I hate it's a lot of that was part of the fun of this movie, was having characters relate a lot of my impressions about film and cinema. It was fun having other voices speak my voice. I love Star Wars. That now I'm gonna probably be on an island here. I love Star Wars, the original trilogy. I
Yes.
think the
Yes.
prequels are god awful, and I think
Garbage.
the sequels are. I don't think they had any idea where they were going with the sequels. And I hate the ageism of the sequels. In other words, you have three characters that are still via a viable age. Why would Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia, Chewbacca et al. Why wouldn't what was the first sequel? Why wouldn't the first sequel be about them? And then and them bringing up other people and then and then handing it over maybe by the third film to a new generation. But they completely, the writers completely said, we don't want to start a new franchise with older people, with adults. We're going to bring in all of these young characters that nobody knows anything about. We're going to shit on the legacy of the characters that built this franchise. You mean to tell me that they completely destroyed the character arc of Han Solo, who had one of the most fascinating character arcs because he was a killer, he was a pirate, and then he became a reluctant hero in Empire Strikes Back, and then he became, this high. They saved the universe twice, twice, and you're telling me that he's gonna all of a sudden he got frozen in carbonite, and telling in a sort of way telling Princess Leia how much he loved her and all of this, and you're gonna tell me he's gonna break up with Princess Leia over a kid issue, and then he's gonna go back to being a pirate? That made no sense whatsoever as
No,
far as
it
that.
didn't.
And these people would have been revered all over the place. And Luke Skywalker has one bad training session and he goes off into exile after all of the fortitude that he showed becoming a Jedi and defeating the Empire. So I felt like that's why I kind of went hard on Star Wars, because I felt like
Mhm.
because the character does say the three originals are great, and then everything else is kind of crappy. Yeah.
Mhm.
So and they
I
did
think they
yeah.
screwed up when they threw out all the books as not being canon any longer. They screwed up. My husband read
Yeah,
all the books and he tells
yeah.
me they had beautiful story arcs.
Stories,
Every
yeah.
character had their own book series, so you got to hear all the background and everything, and they just threw all that out.
They should have never done that, and they should have never not made Luke, Han, and Leia at least for the first one the main thrust of the narrative. This is the other thing. You want a fascinating movie? How about how Luke Skywalker fucks up with Han Solo's kid? Why
Yeah.
are we starting the film after that happened? That's
Exactly.
infinitely more interesting a story than what they showed us. But whatever. So, anyway, I'm very passionate
I'm
about
digging
movies.
some of the shows though. Some of the shows are pretty damn good.
The only after thing that, and it wasn't a show, I thought Rogue One was okay. I
Yeah,
thought it was
that's an
pretty good.
amazing movie.
But Rogue One, you know why Rogue One was great? Because they had to link up to a point in one of the original films. So they didn't have the
Yeah.
latitude to do all of this wacky stuff. They were restricted by the brilliant writing of the first three. And that's why Rogue One worked. I hated that solos. I mean, they don't. And I will tell you something. I'll tell you why I'm kind of off on some of the sequels, or some of the series. I think, and Lucas did this. Lucas is responsible for this. I think it was a huge mistake to take one of the most iconic characters, one of the most mysterious characters from the original, and then make him a clone. Boba Fett, I mean, which is why his action figure was one of the most sought after, was one of the most mysterious characters in a universe full of mysterious characters. And I don't think Lucas expected him to become that cool. So when he did, I think Lucas, being the populist, merchandise that he is, says, "Hey, if they love one Boba Fett this much, they'll love a planet full." Once you had that outfit that he had, that was to me something that he had acquired over the years of bounty hunting. Something would tear, he'd patch it up, or he'd find something new and whatever. He fashioned his own helmet. That made him really interesting. When when it was like a off the line factory uniform, I lost interest. I just lost interest. I did think the first season I liked the first season of The Mandalorian, but then I just at some point said, yeah, I've had enough Star Wars. I'm good.
Well, they did show some of Boba Fett's background in one of the series, the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, but don't do that. Don't. I hate. You don't have to, for me. You don't have to give me the origin story of every character, because then you demythicize, if that's a word. You remove a lot of times. Some of these characters are great because of the mystery and the myth. It's like when the Force was just something. It was just there,
Exactly.
something that you could tap.
Not fucking midichlorians.
Yeah, midichlorians. Like, what the fuck is that? Midichlorians? And it's like, no, it's not.
It's COVID now. What the fuck?
No. And there was, and Luke was, Darth Vader was the Immaculate Conception. There was, she was just, come on, dude. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm off on you give me on these movie things. I get off on the tangent. I'm sorry, Luna.
No, you're good.
Luna,
I love Star Wars.
What's your favorite movie?
That's a loaded question, but
what about genre? Oh, go. What were you gonna say?
My favorite movie, because it got me through like an apartment fire, and I watched it a lot, and it gave me a lot of comfort, was Return of the King, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings series. Oh yeah.
Because I could put
that
it
was
on.
The third one.
That was the third one, yes.
Okay,
when they finally take everything to Mount Doom and everything, and everyone is like, yes, evil is conquered and we can all be peaceful now. So it was very cathartic for me at the time. And it's remained my favorite.
I get that. I had not read any of the books, but I saw all three films in the theater. My favorite, I'm a dude. My favorite part were the orcs and all of the monsters. The other stuff, I was kind of like, it's all right, whatever. But Viggo Mortensen, you gotta love him. He's just fantastic. My only problem with Return of the King was after they disposed of the ring. That movie went on another 30 minutes. I was like, dude.
Yeah, and my
even-
husband made me
I don't
watch the extended version, and I'm like, motherfucker, you better know I love you now. You
I
better
think,
know I love you.
yeah.
So I made him
Oh my
watch all
God.
the Buffies. He had to watch all the Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that's funny. That's for people that are hardcore,
Yeah.
Tolkien fans. But I get it. But I did like. Well, what my other problem was. See, I love talking about where all those arrows coming from. Come on, Luna.
It's called magic, sir.
Whatever.
Magic.
It exists in the universe.
What was funny to me was they didn't even attempt to offer any explanation. But it's no different from when you're watching a cop action movie, and you know that this guy has shot 9 bullets, 10 bullets.
Yeah.
You're like, and he goes on for another 15.
Yeah, he just keeps going. Boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
are you gonna reload, my guy, or what's
Yeah,
going on?
you want to assume that it's some sort of. I think they could have thrown in a line, maybe somewhere where how they regenerate, or it's but it's just like
I'm sure it's in the lengthy book somewhere.
And what do those orcs do when they're downtime? I mean, what do they do?
I don't know. They fuck shit up.
They beat each other up.
Yeah, I guess.
Remember that scene where Frodo and Sam were walking, pretending to be the orcs, and then somebody stepped on another orc, and they're like, yeah, and then the brawl breaks out, and it's like all chaos.
I forgot that one. I forgot which one was that? What movie was that? The second one?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my Lord of the Rings gets kind of meshed because I watch them all the time, and I'm like, I think that's part of the second one.
Okay, I got you now. I got you. Well, okay, I get it. Your favorite genre of film then is horror, or no? Not because of Lord of the Rings, but because of the
Thanks
podcast.
for asking. I'd love to answer this one. It's fantasy horror.
Okay.
Fantasy horror.
Fantasy horror.
That's my favorite genre.
Encourages everyone that comes on our show to make a fantasy horror.
Yes.
Okay, fantasy. Give me another example. Lord of the Rings is not really fantasy horror, is it? Or is it? I mean, it has a lot of horrific elements.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It could. It's more fantasy. There are horror elements, but I'm thinking more like, I don't know, like I'm thinking, the Frighteners. I'm thinking more like,
to me, Labyrinth is kind of horror fantasy. Labyrinth. I love that movie, though. It's like David Bowie in a cod piece with a baby. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, right. Labyrinth is great. I'm going to see it with the live orchestra in October. Dark Crystal. I love Dark Crystal. If you're talking about kind of fantasy horror, I thought Dark Crystal with Jim Henson. Trying to think of a fantasy horror. Crow. That's going way back.
Yeah, a new one that just came out in 2013 called Renfield. Technically, that's a fantasy horror movie.
Okay,
as well.
with that the Dracula.
Yes.
Yeah, with Dracula. Okay, I got you.
And Mr. Nick Cage playing a vampire.
All right, I see where you're going with that.
And then Did you see Long Legs, Maurice?
Not yet. I do want to see it.
He does amazing. Nick Cage is amazing in that. You won't even recognize him until he starts talking, and then you're like,
that's Nick Cage.
Oh yeah. Yes, and my very first movie that I watched when I was, very young, like child, was The Witches. A very great book, and that's technically fantasy horror.
Okay. Was that a movie made into a movie?
It was. It had Angelica Houston, right?
Okay.
Yeah, she played the high priestess witch, and it was like
it's one of those movies you watched as a kid. And then you watch it later, and you're like, "Damn, this is really fucked up."
Oh, okay.
For kids to be watching.
Yeah,
I'll have to go back and revisit that.
All the witches they have potions, and they turn all, because they hate kids, and they turn all the kids into rats with the potions.
Oh, I vaguely remember that. I have to.
And they have like they all meet up in a council in like a hotel, and chaos ensues, of course. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting story.
yes, yes. My child is up.
Aw.
So I'm probably gonna have to wrap up here
Yeah,
soon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's Kat, you wanna wrap up?
Yeah, I had one more question, but it's
Go,
not
go. I don't.
child friendly.
No.
It's
Go,
not
go.
child friendly
No, I'm
at
not
all.
child friendly. Go, go, go. I have my
So,
headphones on. They can't hear
okay, sweet. Okay, so big black dildos. Is it racist if I own one or two? What about if I make them fight each other like in Highlander? There can be only one. Is that racist?
Is that in my movie?
The big black dildo is.
No, I think
So I'm just wondering.
if you only have one, it's
No,
racist.
I have two.
That's what I'm.
I
No,
make them
that's what I'm.
fight.
No. If you only have one, it would be
Okay.
racist.
Okay.
No.
Okay, good.
It's like
It would
having
be
it's like having one black friend. Yeah.
you call it your token dildo.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Oh goodness gracious.
Uh,
So what do you plan to wrap up a little
What's
bit?
next?
Yeah, what's next? What can we expect from you in the future?
I have a film, and I can't give you the title. I have a script that it's already written, but it's just going to take money, and so I'm trying to write a smaller budgeted film so that I can use that to get the capital for this one. Or I might just shoot what's called a proof of concept, one scene from the film, and use that to try and garner some some funding and whatever, which I think might be the smarter use of my time. But it's called the Bella Discesa, which is Italian for beautiful descent, and that's all I can tell you. All I can tell you.
I love that.
But, thank you.
We'll be looking forward for that, definitely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry it took so long. Sorry I sound sick. I'm sick, by the way, people.
Aww. Please give it a big shout out in the comments for him for joining us, even though he's a little under the weather, and so is Kat.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate you guys joining us. So
And don't all you Star Wars nerds be hating on me because I talked about your crappy prequels and sequels.
Haters gonna hate, you know.
Haters suck.
Yeah. We
Haters gonna
personally
hate.
don't
Right.
feel we've made it until we have a couple of trolls, you know.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah, it's
That's how we
fine.
know we're big time.
Well, see you guys next time. Thank you so
Okay.
much for joining us.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank you. You're welcome.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye. Cthulhu, bye. This is how we say goodbye.
Oh.
Cthulhu, bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
You got the dreads. You already got the
Yeah,
Cthulhu.
there you go.
There you go.
See you guys next time.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening to Delight and Fright with your hosts, Luna and Kat, a podcast for outcasts.